They can be a great people, Kal-El. They wish to be. They only lack the light to show the way. For this reason, above all, I have sent them you, my only son.
Hey everybody, this is Perch. I'm here with Ryan. Hi there.
Hello.
And we're doing something a little new. So we're going to go through, and we've been watching slowly all the comic book movies, starting with Superman the movie.
It wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. I mean, I don't know. I'm about your age, so I grew up. I saw this movie when I was young, and it was a good movie back then for kids at least.
Yeah, when we were kids, do you remember the advertising for this? You'll believe a man can fly, and it was everywhere. Like this was. It's not like today where a movie gets a bunch of marketing and kind of it's hot for like a month. This was like the movie for the year.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a blockbuster. It was probably. I mean, I'm trying to think of where like superhero movies were at that point, because you had the stupid Batman thing from the 60s.
Yeah.
and Super Friends was a cartoon that existed, but I mean, that's weird.
The Hulk TV show, maybe Wonder Woman.
Yeah, exactly.
But nothing really in the theater. I mean, this is big
stars. This is a John Williams, score, and this is about the same time as Star Wars or so.
Yeah. And really kind of marketed at everybody. But actually, it's funny you say big stars. So I was surprised in kind of looking back at this. I knew that they had cast around for some other people before Christopher Reeves, but apparently this role almost went to Clint Eastwood. Have you heard some of the names that like they really tried to get to do Superman?
Yeah, they tried to get everybody. They like Sylvester Stallone, and I think Arnold Schwarzenegger, before he really spoke English, wanted to be in a muscle suit, and
James Caan was in there. Robert Redford. I mean, just Burt Reynolds was offered, and I guess the one that got really really close was Nick Nolte. And I'm just trying to picture like some of these people, some of these other names, Warren Beatty, Robert Wagner, John Voight. I really kind of want to see that, like, deep fake kind of superimposed now.
No, but I mean, Christopher Reeve wasn't bad. I mean, I think it's that he was an unknown, and he's kind of bland anyways. So, I mean, that's kind of Superman in a nutshell, is that he has to be the bland Clark Kent and kind of the Superman who's also kind of bland. I don't know.
It's true. I think they actually got lucky. I think by having a more unknown Christopher Reeve, I think that was a good call.
No, and having Gene Hackman at least as the bad guy in at least the back half of the movie, and having Ned Beatty and Margot Kidder, they're all doing all the work, and he just has to kind of stand there and
be Superman.
Yeah, be Superman.
Yeah. And of course, you have Marlon Brando in this as well. Who, pretty much I think had the biggest payout or one of the biggest payouts of a movie for this film. And he apparently did not want to, or he refused to memorize his lines to the point that they were like hiding his lines on props.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he's just making stuff up, and they just cut it together. Yeah. And I think we saw the one that's on HBO Max now. I'm going to believe this is like a director's cut, because it has some of the Superman 2 Zod stuff to lead it off.
Yeah, so it was interesting, and I had forgotten this too. So when they filmed this movie, they started filming a Superman 2 at the same time. Like they were all in for 2 movies, and so a lot of the scenes with Zod and some of this other stuff got initially cut and then put back in, and then the ending of Superman 1 was meant to be a huge cliffhanger, and they wound up kind of pushing the whole Zod reemerges into the second film.
Yeah,
which not really done. I mean, I guess Avatar is doing that right now. So, yeah. But so what did you? So like I said, so it is funny because there are definitely parts that age, and I guess we'll go through the plot. But
no, I mean, and who is this movie aimed for? Is it's like it's for kids, and it's also a good movie for adults. It's kind of an all age thing. I mean, and it's not like there's an anti-hero in this. It's Superman, so it's just
goes everywhere. There's no neck snapping. There's a couple weird bits. Speaking of
I mean, we'll get to it, but a nuclear bomb does go off in Southern California, and nobody seems to care.
Yes, and well, yeah, I guess we will get into it. But do you find it weird, well, it is spoilers, I guess, at this point. I don't know if 40 years later this qualifies, but the bomb goes off. Superman does go back in time, but he doesn't go back in time like an extra minute or two to save a couple thousand people, right? I mean,
there's no telling. I mean, we'll get to it. I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
Were you surprised at the full frontal male nudity in this film that you get almost right out the gate?
What, you mean baby Superman?
Yes, I'm talking baby Superman. That's a weird choice, though, don't you think?
Well, I mean, whatever. Kids don't count as nudity, man. That's not fair.
Wait a minute now.
I mean, I'm not even looking for it. I mean, it's like, oh, what do I expect? I don't expect him to be like, wearing a suit, coming out of a spaceship that's crashed. I mean, sure, he's naked. I mean, sure, he's Starman.
I'm just saying, I watch this with my kids, and that scene comes on, and they're like, "What?" And I'm like, "Oh, I completely forgot that was there."
And then you had to explain, the birds and the bees to your kids, or something.
Absolutely, Superman is what did it. Yeah.
Oh man,
that's how they learn. I just got to imagine that was a weird shot to, like, you're going to for a big theater experience, big blockbuster movie of the year, and you're presented with that. I would just think that'd be a little weird, but maybe, different times, right?
It's just a flash. It's believe me, Miss Tessemacher is like in a bikini half the time. So I mean, whatever.
Sure. I'm not. No, nothing wrong here. So it is. So it did make a lot of money. It was considered kind of hugely successful. And we got the sequel that was also pretty successful, although the director got fired kind of midway through the filming of that. But we'll get to those other films another time. But this was a legit, blockbuster kind of superhero movie. It was really maybe the first big blockbuster superhero movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then nothing really else followed until Batman. Is that right?
Well, I mean, I was trying to think because I mean, Batman's probably 12 years later, the Tim Burton Batman. There's like 4 of these.
Mm-hmm. The last one done on the cheap.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of other stuff. I'm just thinking of like there were cartoons. There was the Spider-Man cartoons that were there, and Incredible Hulk, the TV, the TV show, and
nothing big though. Nothing big like this. I mean, this was so big they even added the movie. So it wasn't just Superman; it was actually Superman the movie in how they built it. It was
in case you were confused with the other Superman.
Yeah, it wasn't Superman, the piece of crap that's playing at the porno theater down the street. It's Superman the movie. Yeah, I killed it right there. So we get into the actual movie. A bunch of things. First off, they spent a crazy amount of money on the credits. Like they spent more money on the credit effect than some of the lower budget films the studio's producing made in just total profit.
Yeah, I mean, but it was pretty great credits. I mean, is this like computer generated? Is this early? Like what are they doing with that?
I'd love to know. I'm curious about that. So it is, and it goes on for a while. Like
I remember this as a kid, this being like an iconic thing, and then of course you got the John Williams, theme going too, and it's it is iconic. So
absolutely,
yeah.
No, you remember it, and you also did you get the feeling with the John Williams score, by the way, that this was kind of his B material from Star Wars, that he was kind of the stuff that didn't kind of make it and he threw into this film, but it wound up being like, you hear this theme now wherever you are, it's instantly Superman.
Yeah, no, I get all his John Williams just kind of does the same thing over and over again with slight variations. But true. I mean, it's all good. I mean, it's a full orchestra. It's not like, synthesizers, do music. I mean, it's a full orchestra. It's great.
Yeah, there's no Black Eyed Peas. It's just no Maroon 5 in there. It's just Superman.
Yeah,
And
I mean, there is some product placement in this movie, but it's compared to these days. I mean, it's almost not there.
it's wholesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Christopher Reeves, of course, is or Christopher Reeve, I should say. I don't want to say Reeves. He's billed third, so he gets to be behind Marlon Brando and Gene Hackman.
Well, I mean, to be fair to him, he's not in the movie for the first 50 minutes.
That's true. Yeah. So speaking of which, I mean, the credits go on for, I think, almost 10 minutes. Maybe not quite that long. Sorry, about 7 minutes. The credits go.
Yeah, we're just going through space.
And then we're off to Krypton, and this is the first for me anyway. This is one of the first kind of dystopian future kind of movies. I guess you had Logan's Run and stuff like that, but this was all muted colors. This was Man of Steel before Man of Steel, kind of a dark, dismal, weird kind of giant head future.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much about Krypton. I have so many questions.
Yes.
I mean, it's an ice planet that's right next to the sun.
Yeah. Seems problematic.
These people are extremely technologically advanced, but at the same time, they're not. Okay, so it opens up, and there's the trial of the three guys, the Zod and the other two, and it's like a big dome, and then they're all found guilty in kind of a an Apple 1984 kind of way with big faces on the screen.
Right.
And then when they're found guilty, like the big dome opens up, and the dome is like the size of like a football stadium, but it only has 3 people standing in it.
Yeah.
So it's just this big like elaborate. It's this big elaborate thing just to punish like these 3 people. I mean, can't they just like put them in jail?
Yeah.
I mean, what are they doing? What do they just put? They put them in the Phantom Zone, and then they send the thing just out into space, just randomly. I mean,
yeah,
that
seems like a lot of weird pollution? It's pollution. It's criminal pollution,
right? Literally. I mean, it doesn't make sense. Why don't you just throw it into the sun or put them in jail? Or it's a really elaborate punishment. I mean, I could see sending people to another dimension. But then, like, sending that dimension out into space somehow, or 2-dimensional, whatever it is, I don't know.
And they seem to call this Phantom Zone mirror in from the space. Like they put up this dome, and then like it comes in through orbit, and then the hula hoops kind of go away.
Right. Clearly they can do space travel, right? I mean, so when on Krypton, they don't have superpowers because of the sun or some nonsense.
Yeah.
But they do have space travel, apparently, and somehow they can control calling this Phantom Zone thing that doesn't make sense. And so they just open up this dome, and it sucks them away, and then they go away, and we don't see them ever again till the next movie.
They come up to the sequel.
Yeah. But it's weird. It's weird that he blames Jor-El individually when there's like 16 people on the jury that all find him guilty, where he's like, but it has to be unanimous, and it's like, you're the one, and we're going to get you or your descendants. It's like, we know what movie we're watching.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. You are right. This scope of this thing is absolutely massive, and Jor-El like gets the hell out of here. Like when it opens up, he's just gone. Like
he's the only one who's not on a screen.
But he books it. I don't know where he goes.
Well, I mean, why wasn't he on a screen? I mean, why does anybody have to be there?
Yeah, it's quite strange. So again, this thing comes in from space. You get this good view of Krypton there, and there's just ice and like seemingly no other buildings. Like, where's everybody living? I mean, are
there towns? Obviously they all live in these ice things and live underground, but are they? I mean, and they have space travel, and they have like, I don't know. The whole thing doesn't make sense.
It really no. I mean, it never made a whole lot of sense in the comic either. I think it's why the comic has tried to kind of retcon and change around this origin like a million times. But it is a very long, drawn out kind of trial and opening, and then Jor-El is like, nobody's listening to me.
Yeah, no, it's weird. It's like you're such an advanced culture, but and he's the only guy who figures out that the planet is going to blow up, and everybody else is like, well, you're a crazy person, so we're not going to listen to you. But I mean, if it's a whole planet of people, like millions of people, and they're capable of space travel, if the current pandemic has taught us anything, it's like 1/3 of the people will be just crazy that the world is about to end, and 1/3 of the people will be denying that the world is going to end, and then the other third will just be like drinking in a bar, if they could get into a bar, or they'll just be drinking at home, I guess. So I didn't think the end of the world would be like that, but the pandemic has kind of taught us that
it's a world of thirds. Yeah,
right. No, so I'm kind of relating to Jor-El here, actually, where it's like politics is against him and the denial of science and all that stuff. But I think it's just weird that he's the only one, and he pledges not to leave the planet so that he doesn't cause a panic.
So he's kind of like your Dr. Fauci here, and he's sending.
I guess, but I mean, but it's like everybody's against him, and he doesn't. Like, if I was him, I would get on a spaceship and leave.
Yeah,
what's he even doing?
It's weird that they have all this, and I mean, the funny thing is the threat is not that mysterious. Like, there's a looming giant sun that's like belching fire at you and causing crazy earthquakes. And I mean, this is
and if you have space travel, aren't there like other Krypton people who are Krypton people who are out in space somewhere? I mean, couldn't they have escaped as well? But why is Kal-El the only one who got off the planet? I mean,
in a giant space ornament.
Yeah, in a giant crystal ornament. I mean, that's a wild spaceship. Like, I mean, it works, but
it does work. It is weird. And by the way, this is you because you mentioned yourself. This was when Marlon Brando and reportedly on set refused to call it Krypton and would just call it Krypton. And even though he was corrected, it was like, no, I'm calling it this way. It sounds better. And he just kind of did his own thing.
No, I mean, and they let him have some time to give a speech. I mean, he's chewing scenery. They give him like the first 20 minutes to talk about his son's future and how great. And here's the other thing: they know a lot about Earth.
Yeah,
but Earth is, I don't know, thousands of light years away or 3 years away. I can't really tell the distance or the time. It's referred to a bunch of different ways, but if you're capable of space travel and you know about Earth, have they visited Earth before?
Maybe I have no answers here. It didn't make it.
And if they had visited Earth before, they would know they have superpowers, and then they'd be like, "Hey, why are we even living in our crappy ice homes? Why can't we just go live on Earth?"
Yeah, exactly. In the comic, they have retconned this a few. There's been a couple different ways this has been told, but one of the ways was that the ship was just kind of blasted off into somewhere, and then it got detoured. It got bumped off course by an asteroid or something. Maybe more of these space prison junk things that they're throwing out into orbit. But it was kind of an accident they got there. But in here, they very much have a plan for Earth, and they set up. I mean, we're at like the 20-minute mark, and the ship, it goes up.
Yeah, he knows all about Earth, and he's like, "Oh, you'll have big powers, and you won't fit in, but it'll be okay." And then as he's in the ship, they're like teaching him about Einstein and all these other like Earth people. But
yeah, he's having Zoom classroom meetings.
I mean, clearly, Einstein must have been a Kryptonian if they know about Einstein on Krypton.
That's a legit theory, actually. That would make a lot of sense.
It does.
That would be good.
Einstein could lift cars. Everybody knew that.
That's the new the revelation. Like Einstein and Napoleon and all these like famous people were all Kryptonians who have powers, and
it's kind of a Men in Black scenario right there. Yeah, so we're like 22 minutes in, and then like the planet blows up, and they just start the at least the cut we have. They're just showing people getting murdered. By the crappy architecture of Krypton falling.
It is funny. The ship goes up. The escape of this ship, it goes up out of their home, I guess, and then it breaks through the ceiling. Like we clearly saw that they have skylight technology from the prison, but here they just bust through the ceiling. Like giant shards of glass come raining down. It doesn't immediately skewer Jor-El and his wife, But then you're right, we then move to scenes of like giant columns toppling over and crushing people.
Yeah, no, if I'm building a spaceship in my house, I'm going to plan a way for the spaceship to get out of the house. Like, I feel like, yeah.
There's some dubious science here. I'm just, and then you got like giant crystals, like just piercing homes and people falling into pits and like, it's one of the weirdest disasters ever described.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. It's they're just showing people falling out of buildings, and I mean, and they're all kind of in that weird off color, camera technique or something where they like their faces are really dark, but their clothes are super reflective or something weird. I can't tell what they were going for. They were going for some alien thing going on there.
It's a neon. It's a rave, basically. And but yeah, it's like stuff sinking into the planet. People are falling off of ledges, and it is it's just a massive amount of, and then like weird kind of steam explosions on the surface. It is a very strange ending. And they do give us like 2 to 3 minutes of just murder on this planet.
Yeah. Yeah, and so then the baby, he's traveling through time, and he grows about 3 or 4 years. I mean, at certain times they say that the journey took 3 years, and then when he talks to Jor-El in his Fortress of Solitude, Jor-El is like, "Well, I've been dead for thousands of years, as you're seeing this." So I'm not sure exactly how fast that ship was going, that it can travel thousands of years in 3 years, or some sort of light year. I mean, I just think it's a weird inconsistency, but
I get the feeling Brando's just kind of making it up in that speech. He just
yeah. No, I mean, again, why if it takes 3 years to get to another habitable planet, why don't you just get in a spaceship and travel? Yeah, just do it yourself. Yeah.
It is. He grows up. He gets the remote learning.
Is it weird that you have a spaceship, teaching a baby, and the baby doesn't know how to talk? Like, my kids didn't. It's not like I could teach them, physics before they could learn to talk or, walk. I mean, he's never really walked. He's just in a spaceship, and then he's gets out at the age of 3.
Yeah, it is. He learns a lot. I don't know how that education is going on, but he does seem to get science and physics, and I mean, apparently no human social interaction, but he gets all the basics down. Gets some PE in there, I guess.
And they really hammer home the point that he's forbidden to interfere with human history.
Yeah, that's going to come up later.
Really, I mean, they just really hammer that.
Foreshadowing.
Yeah.
So he crashes in Kansas.
Yeah,
maybe.
And then we meet Martha and what's his name? Kent.
Yeah, Ma and Pa.
Ma and Pa. And how old are they? Because they're pretty old.
I'm going 60s.
Yeah, no, they've always wanted kids, but they never had them. But then they're like, well, now we have a kid.
The farmer's life is a busy life.
Yeah. No, I mean, throughout this movie, they're always changing tires. Like this is the first of many tire changing scenes.
That's true. Yeah, they have the worst luck. They're changing tire, and they don't seem to be very good at it either. Like
right. But what year is this? I mean, this is clearly like taking
50s?
back in the. I don't know. It's almost like the Dust Bowl. I mean, it's probably the 50s.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the movie takes place in like modern day 70s.
Yeah.
So there's like some sort of time jump, unless the middle of the country is really 20 years behind everybody else, which is I guess possible. But I think they're like doing the comics thing where Superman was born in the 40s or whatever, and that's the era that the high school years take place in.
I like how he does come out of the ship. They immediately like, well, you're ours now. And it's all fine. That's all.
The dad is like, well, we got to find who he belongs to, and the mom's like, we could just keep him. And then then he like picks up the car, and the dad's like, oh, we're keeping him.
Yeah, exactly. This is our meal ticket here. People are like that. Pa Kent here is always all the parents were good, humble people, but they do see that they do see that super strength. What I like is that they see him lift up the truck, and then they turn around and look at the spaceship like, this kid may not be from Earth. There may be something unusual going on here, as if the kid emerging from the spaceship was not a bit of a clue. It is. But yeah, they have this. So at this point, by the way, we are 26 minutes or so into the movie. We're like a half an hour into the movie.
Yeah. I mean, would it be weird if he like traveled for 3 years and then crashed into the ocean? I mean, what would he do? Like, I mean, that's quite some aim, to aim like 3 years into the future from Krypton, to put it on land.
They were tech savvy people. They knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
Now, of course, there have been comic books. There's been Superman Red Sun, which is a telling of what happened if he landed in Russia, or those kinds of things. I always think it would have been, it would have been funny if he would landed like Brazil or something. Like, what would a Hawaiian Superman look like?
So how does Supergirl and like there was a super dog at some point, and how do those guys all get there, or do they?
Well, no, they do. I mean, in the comics, they're like in a different place, so they weren't off Krypton. They were off. They're off. It actually lends credibility to your theory. They were off doing something else on another planet, and it's like, this is all good. And then there was a different telling where she was also shot into space separately. Like the cousin was like, I also have a starship, a little star ornament chip. I'll shoot that in space. It's been told a bunch of different times. A bunch of people will kill me over this. I don't remember how the dog came into the picture. I know that there was some. I don't know. I don't remember how that began. I should. Somebody will remind me, and then I'll feel stupid. But no, there's a dog. There's like a monkey at one point as well. There's been a lot of especially in the 60s for Superman. There's some crazy times. He was pretty much a dick. He would play jokes on Jimmy and Lois and all the rest. But anyway, so they take him home, and then we get a nice little time jump. We get a montage of him growing up, and they're basically
he's in high school now.
Yeah,
and there's an actor who's not Christopher Reeve, and he's just like just another actor playing Superman, who I've never heard of and probably didn't do anything else, notable. I looked him up, and he'd done a couple little roles. I mean, he's working as an actor, but it's like he looked weird. He kind of looked like Kyle MacLachlan or something, but it was weird.
It just seems like kind of a shame. I mean, you get to play part of Superman, and then you should go somewhere. But basically, he grows up. He does some shenanigans. He does have a crazy Kyle MacLachlan haircut. That is true. And then old Pa dies, and we
first they have the scene where he runs home and he races a train.
Yes, right. Yeah, that's a great one.
Kind of corny. I mean, are we supposed to be impressed that he can outrun a train? Or I mean, he's like waving at people. It's like the only person who sees him is a girl on a train who like points it out, and then the mom's like, "Oh yeah, you stop."
It's not like the mom's like, "Oh, you're seeing things." The mom's like, "Shut up."
This is like this. There's another part later in this film where the kid is like, where the Superman saves the cat out of the tree, and the mom comes in and is like, "Oh man, just save the cat," and the mom's like, "Oh, shut up," and slaps her. Like this is like the second,
The parents are routinely terrible kind of throughout this whole movie. And I do like, the scenes of Clark as a kid, he's trying to, the awkward hitting on Lana, I guess. And then the football player drags her away, and out of revenge, Clark just kicks a football into orbit.
It would have been funny if that football had like landed, at the end of the scene after the car sees him the second time, and like, how did that get here? And it's like, it went around the earth.
It was weird. This whole movie was a very odd mix of kind of cheesy and it's meant to be kind of fun, but it's also a lot of camp, like a whole lot of camp. I mean, the Superman running to beat the train is one of the funniest runs of all time.
Right. No, it's like its legs aren't really even moving. Like, but it's a nice effect of the 70s, I guess. I mean, I don't know. They look good, but it was funny looking.
I like how Superman's kind of like he's a risk taker. He jumps in front of the train that if he missed would just murder everybody on that train. But you know, it's
Yeah.
all good.
I mean, he could just jump over the train too. I mean, really.
there's
Doesn't
a
he
lot-
know that by now?
it's unclear like when he really understands his powers, because where he's kind of doing his thing, and then it's what about the 40-minute mark, he decides it's time to go on my journey of self-discovery with this crystal.
Yeah. So when Pa dies, you know, and it's sad. It's, you know, it's
Really?
there it is.
Tearjerker.
You know, this guy who we knew for about 10 minutes, he dies. And then, you know, after the funeral, he's like, Ma, I need to go.
Mm-hmm.
Like, where are you going to go? I'm going to go north, you know,
Yeah.
because the green crystal is telling him to go north. But why does he? I guess he just needs to go where there's snow. I mean, but even in the Arctic, I mean, there's not land up there. It's just ice.
Well, this is global warming, so that area looked a lot more like Krypton back then.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, and plus, if the Superman Returns or whatever is to be believed, those crystals can like build rocks and islands and things. So
That's true. That's all in canon.
Yeah, that's all in this universe. So we know that to be true. So, but I mean, he just goes off, and you know, we can get to like he builds the Fortress of Solitude and all that, but he's just leaving high school. I mean, he doesn't really graduate.
No, he just.
We don't even know if he like gets a GED or he goes to college for journalism, or, you know, we kind of skip all those years.
No, exactly. And it is funny that he takes this very long journey on foot up to the North Pole, I guess.
Yeah, no, you can't walk to the North Pole. I mean, he can. He's Superman. He can do whatever he wants. But how does he
get up? And how, like, and then he gets up there and like he's like, all right, now I'm done, and I'm just going to throw this crystal away because it's stupid. Like, you got through. You got through North Dakota, you went through Canada, and now you're tired. The crystal is heavy, and you're just going to chuck it. And he does it, and he builds a house.
Yep,
a big crystal house.
Big crystal house, and you know, it's a nice house. And then he's, you know, looking around and
I like how
finds the crystal, and
the Kryptonians are inflicting their terrible house building architecture on our planet now. Like,
also their horrible user interface on their computers, because it's like, well, I'll just insert this computer into this hole, and that will make something happen.
It really is a shaft in the hole system. It's kind of there.
You don't usually see that.
No, that's not what you normally get. But everything in their society seems to be based on taking things and inserting them into other things.
I mean, you could argue that's true about all societies.
It is clearly the future right here. It makes me wonder why we don't see more programming of shafts into holes. I think that would make some sense. But anyway, so he does all this, and it triggers a recording, a safety message from his dad. And the technology is crap. Like it's like you go back and you know, have you ever gone, you buy like the nostalgia consoles, like, oh, it's an Atari, and you know, you've seen them, they've been pushing these things out, and you bring them home, you're like, oh, it's gonna be great, it's just like when I was a kid, and then you plug it in, you're like, oh my god, this is, you know, Yar's Revenge, this looks like shit. Like, anyway, that's what we get a very low quality Marlon Brando face.
Yeah, and you know, he hammers the home, you know, that you know, you're supposed to be good, or your purpose is to continue on, or not interfere with humans or something. I don't know. He goes, just talks about everything, and then you end up back here, and then instead of the high school guy, you have Christopher Reeve in the Superman costume.
Yeah, this
so did time pass, or did he get older? Did he learn? And then he's able to fly now, and he's finally, you know, Superman, you know, 48 minutes into this movie.
Yeah, it takes a long time to get there, and he gets his costume, and I mean, I'm assuming fakes a diploma, and you know, because he's got, like, he shows up now in New York, or Metropolis, sorry.
Right. Yeah, but I mean, it is New York, because they show the Statue of Liberty and the World Trade Towers, and it's they don't even hide that it's New York. I mean, that's what they would do in later movies. It's like, oh, Metropolis is something else, but this is just New York.
It's just New York, and he's going to get a job at the equivalent of the New York Times, basically. And
yeah, I feel like it's more like the New York Post. I feel like they're not above like pun headlines. So
no, well, that's true. And their star reporter cannot spell.
Yeah, they do establish that she cannot spell. They cannot spell braziers.
No, and she writes like she's asking for the strangest, like, how do you spell bloodbath and massacre and rapist? It's like, what are you writing? Like, what story are you producing here? It's some of the most. Anyway.
She's all over it on the beat. I mean, she's on the city beat, and is also later on the Superman beat, and then later on the I'm going to go to Southern California beat. I mean,
she does what
she's
she
all
wants.
over. Yeah,
she's a Pulitzer Prize winning reporter.
Sure,
what we hear, but nobody seems very competent. I mean, Jimmy doesn't seem like that good of a photographer. Perry White can't open bottles of whatever he was opening. I like, nobody seems very good at their job here, but Clark shows up. He's got a very good resume from somewhere. So you got to figure he lied about all that. Like, he doesn't have any of this job experience, or are we meant to believe that we're skipping like 5 years where he worked his way up through like the Midwest journalism? I like, what about that part of Superman's life?
Yeah, that we don't know.
Anyway. But he gets his job, and it's super cheesy. We are an hour into this movie.
Oh yeah, and then now we get the Otis part.
Oh, that's right.
We get the two cops who are gonna follow Otis to get to the secret lair, and one of those cops gets pushed out in front of a train and gets murdered.
Yeah, and it's not really a big deal.
Yeah, no, not really. I mean, there's no blood, so it's just a crushed up hat. It's like, oh no. But that's how you know it's serious, is that they're killing people, and Otis is just a big dummy.
Why is Otis? He's got like a what are those hats that he's wearing there? It's like a 1950s carnival barker hat there, and he's walking on the rail. Like, he is a complete dope.
It just seems like Southern Florida horse racing, outfit.
And this is how they're going to introduce us to Lex Luthor, who has a secret lair under the train station, and
the two idiots who work for him. Yeah.
And Tess Mager is just basically in some very strange lingerie.
Yeah, no, they make the choice to start her off with, like, she's just all out there.
She's full whore right from the beginning.
Yeah.
And I can't help but notice. So I was struck by. I guess I haven't. I was told that of course, Gene Hackman refused to shave his head to be the classic Lex Luthor. So to kind of accommodate this, they had him in every shot. They change his hair around to make it kind of that he was. It's clearly a wig because they were changing his hairstyle. And in the background of his office, if you look closely, and it's true, you could see wigs on little stands.
Yeah, no, at some point Otis is like making the bed, and he finds some hair in it, and he's kind of freaked out by it, and he puts the hair on one of the mannequins.
But there's other things, like it's this trophy room of strange kind of Western skulls, and like this is the strangest interior decoration of any like you've got old computers there, you've got lamps, you've got whiskey, I
think these are new computers at the time it was made, though.
That's true.
This is all state of the art.
Tessmacher's got a giant cigarette there.
Yeah. No, they got a pool that is, a subway station, and
there's a lot going on. And basically, as we come to learn, Lex Luthor is a real estate baron who is maybe not that successful, but has the illusion of being very successful, and is trying to get various plots going.
Well, I mean, if the cops are after him at this point, he's already he's already an evil genius at this point.
They suspect he's up to something, but they don't know yet.
Well, I mean, it's they can suspect. I mean, they have reason to suspect because he's already done stuff, or that he's in hiding for a reason. There's a reason he's not, in a penthouse somewhere.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's fair. That's There, he's something. We don't know where he is in his criminal.
I mean, I don't think stealing nuclear weapons is kind of a first move. I feel like he's definitely worked his way up to it.
He is cited as the evil genius, in that he has the two doofuses with him, and he's living out of a subway, and he's got a plan, basically.
Yeah.
And his plan, what is his plan here?
So he's bought up a bunch of real estate in Southern California on one side of the San Andreas Fault, and then he's going to launch nuclear weapons at the fault and have that half of California crash into the sea so that he has a bunch of oceanfront property.
Yeah, so he's a real estate developer.
Yeah, no, this whole movie is a real estate scam.
Which I'll bet now this movie was well received. People who are in comics, Simon & Schuster, really liked it. Reportedly, everybody was very happy. But I'll bet most people were not expecting that you were getting a Superman movie based around a real estate plot.
Well, I mean, and again, the plot doesn't start for another 20 minutes or so. But I mean, we're kind of just laying, we're an hour into this movie, and we're finally in Metropolis. We've finally established that Lex Luthor is here, and and then we're we got Clark Kent starting at the Daily Planet, and then this is like the best sequence here, the introduction of the Superman in Metropolis.
Yeah. Well, because Lois is going to show him the ropes, basically, and she doesn't really want to, and he's awkward and kind of fumbly, and then we get to we basically get to Superman.
Yeah. So she's going to take a helicopter, and so she goes up there, and then the helicopter gets caught on some wires or something, and then it's like hanging off the side of a building. And, there's a crowd of people underneath that helicopter and building looking up and gawking. And they're like, hey, there's a helicopter about to fall down and crash on us. And they're like, oh, my God, let's just stand here and look up. And then, Clark comes out and sees it. And then he is like, well, I need to change. And then they do the phone booth thing where they're like, we don't have phone booths anymore.
Yeah. That was stuff right there.
No, it's a solid joke. It's solid. And so then he goes into like a revolving, door or whatever, and he does the quick change. And then this is the great part is he comes out, and then there's like the only black guy in this movie is a pimp, and he's like, "Hey man, nice suit," and he's like, "Excuse me," and then he flies off, and it's like, all right, I guess that's diversity in the 1970s, but
representation. That's what you got. Yeah.
So
that was a very funny scene on all these different fronts. And this was the classic, what they're calling the double jeopardy scene. So this is where originally they were only going to have him save Lois. And then they're like, we may need some more action in this thing. So let's have the helicopter kind of in jeopardy as well. And apparently that's how this got added. Initially, I guess at some point somebody's like, it's an hour and 10 minutes. We probably should have more action than just one quick save of Lois.
Right. No. So he, but he catches her and she's like, and he's like, oh, I've got you. And then she's like, you've got me. Who's got you? And, that's an iconic line. And then, he saves the helicopter, and then he just starts flying around fighting crime for about 5 minutes. And this is like the movie within the movie that I love. He's like, he foils the guy who's suction cupping, walking up a skyscraper.
Yep.
That's solid comedy right there. There's a boat chase.
The boat's great. The guy sneaks up behind him with the crowbar.
Yeah.
And you get the bong kind of thing. It's a physical joke. And Superman just standing there. This was a good, you got about 4 minutes or so of good old Superman action. And
he leaves the boat. He picks the boat up. You don't really see it, but he leaves it in the middle of Manhattan in front of a police station. And the cops are like, well, I'm going to start drinking now.
Yeah.
And then, and this is where he saves the cat in the tree, and then the kid's like, kid gets slapped off screen that you hear, and that's great. And then he goes and saves Air Force One, when they have like one engine blow up and then the plane starts to crash for some reason because, they need more than one engine. And then the pilots are like, "Oh, I'm not going to tell you what's going on, but just fly, man."
It is cool. The scenes of him flying. I mean, again, it looks kind of cheesy today, but for the time period of this movie, that it was a pretty solid flying. I mean, Superman flying actually looked pretty damn good.
Yeah. I mean, it's not terrible. It looks good.
Yeah, it was kind of a. So he goes and he says, and the whole world is abuzz about Superman, and we're going to assign our star reporter Lois Lane to kind of figure out who this guy is and what he's all about, and he slips her a note.
Yeah, because this is evidently like Clark and Superman both going on a date with her at the same time, sort of thing.
Was he just kind of screwing with? I mean, why was he making his life difficult for himself? Like, he knows he's both people, so he's like, I'm going to set up a date with her, kind of to meet both of us at the same time, and we'll just see if she's too stupid enough to recognize what's going on.
Yeah, like, he's really messing with her because, I mean, he's having a good time. I mean,
it does seem to transition at this point to if you start looking at this, like Clark is and as Superman is just a giant troll at this point. Like he is definitely screwing with Lois.
Right. No. So she's expecting a date and she thinks it's going to be Superman. And then it is. I mean, it is Superman, but he's a little late, and she's like drinking, and then I don't know. There's. She finds out stuff about him, like that he can't see through lead, and because she, it's like, "Oh, what color is my underwear, huh?" And they're really kind of flirting, and she's really going for it.
We're kind of flirting. Like, it is the most. She goes to like kind of inquiring about him, to asking him the color of her underwear, and he's like, "It's pink," and then it's like, "I like pink," and it's like, okay. I mean, it's not subtle flirting. The whole back and forth with him at this point is pretty hilarious, actually. And then why would he tell the reporter that his weakness is lead? Like, that seems like an odd move.
Well, I mean, he's just I think it's just something that comes out because he's not careful. I mean, I don't know why his weakness would be lead, but I mean, I actually don't know why his weakness would be kryptonite. I mean, if I was a space traveler and Earth blew up, and I went to another planet, and then I found a rock from Earth, I don't think that rock would be my weakness.
It would be your emotional weakness.
I mean, if his power comes from the sun or being in our solar system or not being in the Krypton solar system, I don't understand his power, where it's coming from. It doesn't make sense. But
he kind of always had this problem, though. Like, one of the Green Lantern's weaknesses was wood. Another one was the color yellow.
Yeah, yellow is the famous one. It's like, okay.
Batman's weakness is dead parents. I mean, there's always some, But it is. He sits down for this interview. He checks out her panties, and then they go off flying.
Yeah, and then here's the New York shots and the nice flying, and
she starts rhyming.
Yeah. Is there any part in this movie where he shoots lasers out of his eyes? This is a weird time to bring that up, but I was just thinking, is that?
I don't think we get lasers out of the eyes until movie number one. Yeah.
No, it's just how do people in Krypton, are they able to shoot lasers out of their eyes, or how does that even work?
They that red sun is like the equivalent of wearing lead contacts.
Okay. So if Superman flew off and visited another galaxy, and that galaxy had a red sun, he would have no powers?
Yes, that's right. They've actually established that. So or no sun at all. Like, he goes into like a place with no sun, and he starts getting weaker.
Deep space? Okay.
Yeah, sure.
All right. Sure. All right. Yeah. Great.
Yellow sun.
All right, so let's see. They're flying around. It's just the weirdest first date.
Yeah, and she's, flying through the sky in, basically a sheer dress. There's,
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. She was like, "Hey, she get a coat," and she's like, "I'll be fine." It's like, I think you're going to be cold, wearing that. But I was thinking he could warm her up with like, laser vision or just being around him somehow it radiates heat or something. But no, yeah.
Yeah, she's fine.
Yeah, she's fine.
And so then they bring her back, and Clark comes over to visit.
Yeah, but first she's like, "Oh, what a Superman!" And she's like, "Superman, that's the name I'm gonna give him."
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, "Okay, yeah, great."
Super, super horny at this point, and Clark's gonna reveal himself. Maybe that was his plan. He was planning on coming clean. Be like, it's me, and then he decides no, and she goes out in her nightgown to go to the Daily Planet, I guess. And then we get the headline, "I spent the night with Superman," which is
I mean, if Clark was a different person, what would he think? Because he also spent the night with her, or he took her out after that. I mean, so he's like, "Oh, I was there as well."
He doesn't get a headline.
No, he doesn't get a night with Clark Kent. I mean, that's on the back page.
Nobody wants to read that. So thankfully, because of the interview, Lex Luthor learns that lead is the weakness. And meanwhile, they're still planning.
And he surmises that there's a meteorite from that planet that landed in Africa that he could get that will be his, will kill him.
Yes.
Which is just again, I don't understand how rocks, make that happen, but okay. I mean, it's a movie, so.
He is a genius, so it all checks out, I guess. Yeah. So we're so now, just as a time check, we're an hour and 40 so minutes into this movie.
Yeah, we got at least we just have an hour to go, and we're just now getting into the actual plot.
Yeah. So now we're about to go mess up California real good.
So he and the two dummies, Lex Luthor, have to go steal or redirect two missiles. Yeah. And they have these elaborate schemes to stop convoys. One of them was the Miss Tessemacher is like, pretending to be injured, and then all the soldiers want to give her mouth to mouth.
Sure. Boobs is a great, that's always going to work. 70s today, that's going to work. No problem. It's the go-to for all the schemes.
Right. And then, Otis screws that up somehow. And then I can't tell if the second missile they do is the second missile or they're just fixing the first missile. Because there's two missiles that get shot off.
It becomes it does get odd. And there's this scheme for a super genius it involves a lot of like Lex Luthor's in a hat and Miss Tessemacher's got a tool belt.
Yeah.
And this doesn't seem like a well-oiled plan for two nuclear missiles.
Yeah. No, and I don't think nuclear missiles are like traveling down the road,
Probably
like
not.
This. I wouldn't think so.
Not in California anyway.
Well,
maybe Georgia. Yeah, not here.
Well, and the geography is kind of weird anyways, because I think they're clearly somewhere where there's mountains, and later in the movie they're at Hoover Dam in Southern California and New Jersey at the same time somehow.
Well, you kind of get a sense that the directors, the planners of this movie kind of had there's New York, and then there's kind of like everything to the left of that.
Right, exactly.
Kind of works out. And then Lois is kind of on the scene as well, interviewing a Native American and driving really poorly.
Yeah.
What was that? What was that entire bit?
Well, the Native American is one of the guys who's selling the land to Lex Luthor, but he doesn't know it's Lex Luthor. So she's getting the scoop on that they're selling to some mysterious person who's buying up parts of Southern California.
Why would the New York Post be interested in this?
That's the thing. It's like, why is she interested in this? Why is she on a dirt road and not a normal road? Why isn't she interviewing him at like a place that has a table?
Yeah, so many problems. There's a lot of focus on real estate deals. Like that is all that really matters in the country at this point. It's all about real estate. So of course you send your star reporter out to go talk about a land deal that's going on in Eastern California. That makes complete sense.
I mean, she's got nothing else going on, so it's all right.
Yeah. So then
like CNN or whatever is covering the launch of these two rockets.
Yep.
And they're nuclear missiles, and they're going to blow something up. I don't. Why is the news covering the launch of missiles?
Yeah.
What is the point of this? But they launched two at the same time from somewhere. And then Lex Luthor,
He summons Clark, basically.
Yeah, he gives him like a dog whistle or something that only he can hear.
Yeah.
And then then he like does the spin and goes down into the ground.
It's kind of like when Trump called out the Proud Boys is what's going on. It was
that kind of dog whistle. Yeah, all right.
Well, he's a real estate deal, so that had to come up at some point. So he summons Superman to the subway layer, and then Superman, we get the body drill, which is a good classic, and then he kind of breaks in the door and he's got his angry face on.
Yep. And then we get the whole kind of download of the plan and like that he's gonna crash, get rid of half of California. Otis has penciled in Otisburg as one of the towns. I think that's a great.
That's the cheesy campiness of this is charming. It's not like watching Catwoman. It is actually charming.
Yeah,
we'll get to that eventually. So basically, in addition to kind of going through his plan, he also takes him into the big floor map,
right?
And he's got some vinyl, basically sticker there to kind of show how the land is different, and he's explaining this into just extreme detail for
no reason, really. He's just kind of like killing time.
Yeah. So if Superman's checking all this out, we get the new California, which Lex is going to own all of, and that's going to make him just super rich. And and we get Otisburg, and this was kind of maybe this is the first movie where the villain was really going on and on about his plan. No, I guess James Bond had been doing that.
No, it's James Bond. I mean, it's standard stuff. It's fine.
Marina de Lex,
and then I like all the towns are great. All the towns are great.
It's a curious plan. So they go over all this, and then Superman.
I mean, would that real estate be valuable if it's like close to a nuclear bomb going off? I mean,
well, this was pre-Chernobyl, so nobody really knew, right?
I mean, again, I think if the nuclear bomb goes off and half of California gets blown up, I feel like the rest of California has like just nuclear fallout all over it. So
absolutely. I mean, everything's going to be wasted. I mean, Las Vegas would be about the same, but basically everything would be terrible. I don't know. So these missiles.
This plan is terrible. This plan is terrible, is what we're saying.
It is terrible. So we're back in Lex Luthor's kind of weird TGI Fridays style living room. And it is, there's basically Superman's now going to stop him, but then comes the big reveal that Lex has some backup.
Yeah,
and it's the Rock.
Right. So he gets him to open up the lead case. Yeah. And then it's kryptonite. Your weakness that you didn't know about until right now.
Yeah.
I mean, it would have been embarrassing to Lex Luthor if that didn't work at all.
That would have been a great moment in the movie.
I mean, because he really has nothing to prove that it actually works, up to this point.
And that kind of was played out a little bit in Superman 3, where they give him the rock and then nothing happens. I can't wait to get to Superman 3 with you. By the way.
Superman 3 is the best.
It is absolutely the best. So he basically chains this thing around his neck and tosses him in the pool. And meanwhile, the missiles are heading off to California, and Superman is hosed. But Superman.
I feel like he could have just shut the lead case. I mean, since apparently lead protects him from kryptonite, he opens up the case and then it's like, oh my God, it's kryptonite. I could have just shut it and then been back to where I was like a minute ago. And plus, no, he kind of falls back or something, and then Lex puts the rock around his, puts the chain around his neck.
And the chain around his neck is super loose too. It feels like he could have he could have very easily just kind of dumped this thing off. Like, how weak does it make him exactly? It's he's strong enough to tread water, but not strong enough to kind of just duck his head down 3 inches and get this chain off his head.
Yeah. But I guess just being in the same room with it is a problem. I don't know.
You could have just shrugged this thing off and then like slowly doggy paddled over to the side. I think, and then kind of crawled up the steps. I'm just, I know. I just think I could have gotten away from this. I don't know. But fortunately,
So one of the missiles is going to California, and the other is, we find out, is going to Hackensack, New Jersey. Is that correct?
I think so. Yeah.
And that's the. I mean, again, you're shooting two missiles from the same place, and one is on one coast and one is going to the other coast. Yeah. I don't understand how that works, but sure, okay. And then Miss Tessemacher has her mother lives in Hackensack or whatever. So I'm wondering if that's the missile that Otis fucked up. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I'm guessing that is the missile he fucked up. I also like that when she decides to jump into the water to save Superman, that's when they're going to make sure she's wearing this super white dress. And I mean, that was an intentional choice.
And she kisses him, when he's in the weakened state.
Yeah.
Just to take advantage of him. She's the one who's the predator in this situation.
Yeah, she is the predator. Absolutely.
Then she frees Superman but he promises to save the first missile, the New Jersey one first, even though the New Jersey one is actually in California later, or is like Hoover Dam or something. I don't know. It doesn't make sense.
It seems
New Jersey. They shouldn't have said New Jersey. I feel like that's a script thing that they came up with later.
It is. It's an odd choice. So he, Superman basically is thankful. He strokes her chin a few times.
He's really taking his time getting out of there.
He's in no hurry. And then finally he does burst through the roof. We get another shot of like heavy things.
Yeah, falling down on the.
Superman's chasing after this missile. We get some shots of some farmers painting a fence. And just like I love all the little shots of the people in the background that really summed up kind of what the directors and writers thought of America during this time. Like, we get the
I'd love to have the movie about the people who are, who are side characters in this movie, who are like, oh, I guess there's a crazy flying guy around, and now there's a missile about 100 feet above me flying over. All right.
Yeah, it is. They keep painting. So Superman flies up basically the butt of the missile.
Yep, and he pushes it out into space.
Right.
And then Hoover Dam cracks or something. No, wait. The other missile goes off as he's pushed the other missile into space, and he sees that missile blow up in Southern California.
Yeah. And it is.
So then he flies back down and he goes to like Hoover Dam, and he seals up the San Andreas Fault somehow by flying through it.
Yeah. No, the repair job seems a little kooky in all this. And Lois again is on this dirt road with this Native American guy.
Well, she's dropped him off. She's on her way back, but she's low on fuel.
Oh yeah, and she's just has no gas, and then she happens to park over the earthquake zone, over the fault. Basically, she's straddling the fault.
Yeah,
and this causes her car to slowly sink in. Reminiscent of Krypton, it is like there's always these kind of slow motion. People are sinking into the planet, and crap's falling on their head kind of moments.
Yeah,
that is and so she's basically crushed to death.
Yeah, no, and they show this. I mean, she's asphyxiated and she is legit killed. So I mean, they're gonna undo it, but I mean, they legit kill her. And I guess the first time you're watching this, you're like, oh, did they just kill Lois Lane? Oh, that's. Well, I mean, did they do that in movies like in the 70s? I don't think so. I think this is the first switcheroo in the ending there.
Well, and pretty brutally. I mean, there's shots of like dirt going in her mouth, and she's
that's it's ugly.
We get a nice snuff film. Now, at this point, by the way, we are a little over 2 hours into the movie, and we are getting some action finally. It is kind of crazy that this whole film, which is about 2 hours 20 minutes, and so there's pretty much no action in this movie, except for a couple scenes. Like it is Superman, but
it's like, hey, I'm Superman. I can fly. Look at this.
There's very little action. So so the whole world has gone to hell. Superman pushes some rocks down. He kind of repairs things. He somehow finds Lois, and he tries to bring her back to life, but she is dead.
Yep.
And he is thinking, I never got to truly see those panties.
Well, and what's stopping him right now? I mean,
fair enough. He is. I like how the San Andreas Fault kind of ends with that car. Like she got right at the end of it. If she had driven forward, like, I don't know, 12, like
well, she was out of gas, but I mean, she could have got out of her car or done. I mean, she was parked next to a cliff that had rocks falling, and I don't know. It was. Again, it's like, where is this set? Because Hoover Dam isn't in Southern California. I mean, that's in different states. And again, a nuclear bomb has gone off somewhere in Death Valley or somewhere between Vegas and Los Angeles. I mean, a nuclear legit, and they just like, oh well, I guess a nuclear bomb went off. I guess we'll just fix it. No.
Yeah. And so he gets pissed and flies off.
Yeah.
And super pissed. And so pissed, he flies into the sky. And this is kind of one of these iconic comic scenes where he's so mad, he kind of hears his dad's voice being like, in the clouds. Don't mess with things.
Right. Don't interfere with human history. And then he hears this, Pa Kent, and then he's like, or maybe he doesn't, I don't know, but he's like, you're here for a purpose or something. And it's like, he's like, okay,
I want to see those panties. So screw it. Besides, you're dead anyway. And he gets the plan of spinning around the Earth at light speed.
Yeah. I mean, did he know he could do that?
I mean, I have to assume this was part of the training in the holiday ornament ship that he got as a kid.
I mean, given that they're hammering home that he shouldn't be changing human history, and they must. I just feel like they could have laid the groundwork for the fact that that Superman can travel through time. I feel like they could have said something like, "You go too fast, you're gonna go backwards." I don't know.
And I do like how they get the reverse footage of actually just literally reversing everything. The cars rising out of the ground, and
the Earth literally rotates the opposite direction.
Yeah.
Which I didn't get when I was little. When I was little, I was like, oh, he's just pressing the rewind button or something. I didn't get time travel because, I mean, this is, before Back to the Future and time travel movies, really. So this is the way they showed time travel, is that he just reversed everything by going super fast.
And then he did have to get the Earth going again in the right direction. So he did.
No. So that's the thing. The Earth was always going in one direction. He was going so fast that it appeared to be going backwards to him. This is relativity. This is, his perspective of events.
Yeah. And,
But at the time he goes back, there are legitimately two Supermen on the planet. There's him and his future self.
Oh, that's true.
So
we could have had an amazing fight in here if they.
Well, I mean, that's the thing about Superman. If Superman has time travel, he could legitimately do like Bill and Ted scenarios where he says, "Oh, I need to, Lex Luthor, you've trapped me. Well, I'm gonna come back later in the future and drop a rock on you from behind right now," and then that just happens because
I've been hilarious.
I mean, it's just Bill and Ted scenarios. You could build an army of Supermen, of just future Supermen, by just coming back in time and then going back in time and then back in time, and then you just have a whole army of Supermen at one point in time.
See, that's the movie we deserved right there. The army.
That would have been confusing.
I do like how, so in theory, he reset the clock, and then he did something. So Lois is out of gas and she's pissed. Superman shows up. He clearly got to that other missile at that point. I don't think he came straight here, because otherwise we have to be led to believe that
I guess the things don't crack as much the second time. Like the car doesn't. I mean,
there's no crack he's having to save her from. The car just stays there, and Jimmy shows up, and
maybe he does get the missile the second time, and they just don't show it.
That has to be what goes on, because otherwise they wouldn't be standing around, talking and everything else. So Superman flies off. We don't get the kiss, and Lois is a little bit confused. Kind of almost put some stuff together, but then she's not that good a reporter.
Yeah.
You know, what are you going to do? So Superman goes back to basically see Lex, and
He drops him off in a prison.
Yeah, and then we finally get the bald cap to, bring us back to a bald Lex Luthor, and Otis is there, and everything is fine. And then he flies off into space.
Yeah, gives the wink to the camera and says, "Yep, I'm Superman."
And that's it. And then we get a long, one of the longest credit sequences I think of any movie at that point. And yeah, it's worth noting. And so that's the movie. So all things considered, what'd you think of it? I mean, how does it hold up? Did you enjoy yourself, or was it just painful watching it, or how'd you feel about it?
I mean, there are parts that are slow, and
sure,
it's pretty straightforward. I mean, there's nothing to it, but I mean, I think Superman is kind of it's hard to do Superman well because he can just do anything, and if you don't touch his weakness, then how do you fight that? I mean, I think we've had this discussion before. It's like Superman is just, what are you going to do? So I mean, they kind of make him interesting. I think Christopher Reeve does a really good job. With that and the Clark Kent thing, and I think the Margot Kidder, she's
classic.
Weird. She's weird, but she's doing that, and Gene Hackman's having a good time, and Otis is stupid, but
I always felt like they didn't do nearly enough with Otis. I feel like if you're going to go camp and comedy, we should have gotten a lot more Otis out of this film.
Oh, gee golly, boss!
It's just the best. I think it is interesting. So apparently, originally the plan was this movie was supposed to end with Zod and kind of those people showing up, and they weren't going to use the time travel mechanism, and that was what they were going to do at the end of the second movie to kind of unwind, Lois finding out that he was Clark and all that stuff. But they wanted to go for 2 standalone movies, but it's just interesting to think how this thing might have gone. I don't know. It definitely is a product of its times, right? It's a 70s movie. It feels like a 70s movie, but more enjoyable than more recent Superman movies, I think.
Oh yeah. It's
kind of the exact opposite of Zack Snyder's Superman. I don't know. So any kind of, any final thoughts, things about this film, stuff to look up, or anything that surprised you out of it?
Well, I mean, I was just surprised at how long it took them to actually get to Superman, and how much time they spent on Krypton, and then that the plot itself was. I mean, I remembered the plot, but the plot took all of like 20 minutes to get through, and then because they really only have one confrontation, and then it's done.
Yeah, it was a movie of setup, and I think they were, clearly just trying to get to a franchise here. They seem pretty confident that they were going to make money. I mean, that's the kind of the interesting, kind of confusing part is this was the 70s. They spent a lot of money on this. They put some people on it. I still would have loved to see like Nick Nolte as Superman. That would have been pretty incredible. But they were kind of all in for building a franchise, and they did get that second movie out, and that was successful. And then it seemed to go south from there. Although I'm like you, I love the third movie. But
yeah, when we do the third movie, it's gonna be great.
We're gonna be drinking while we do that. Well, cool. Well, hey, thank you very much for spending time talking through this film with me, and we'll continue on. I think probably next up should be Superman 2. You think?
Yep.
All right, we'll get right into that. Well, thank you very much, and to everybody listening, thanks a lot for hanging with us and listening to this recap of what was a pretty great film at the time. I mean, it was a classic. Yeah. All right.